All right. I am on air. Is this thing on? David Haglund says, hey, is it on? It's on. It is on, David Haglund. It is on. Who's with me? This is Politics After Dark. Ken Jong-un has no video. That sounds like a personal problem to me. Tech troubles. Uh-oh. I don't know if it's just him or is it everyone. Let me type in the chat and see. Can anyone see me? Because I can see me. I can see me. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? You're on. Okay. That's good, I think. Someone says I'm on. Someone says I'm off. I'm yes and I'm no. I'm hot and I'm cold. Okay. Well, everything. Okay, good. Everything looks good to me and to my friend David Haglund. It is the night for tech problems. My guest, his computer decided to, update a bunch of crap like 10 minutes before the show started. So he's coming along. His computer's just got to restart. He will be here any minute. So I'm just gonna start without him. And I will introduce you to him when he shows up. I'm in a different location. I am in my basement tonight. Some of you who are truly Liberty nerds might recognize this space from Sean Ha's videos. This is my infamous toy strewn basement where Sean made all of his videos for his campaign. Super fun. So that is where I am. That is my location. It is different. I decided to change things up. It's the new year. A lot of things are changing for me. Where is Mike? Mike is upstairs. He's making sure the boys are settled for good. And then once he's confident that they are asleep, then he is very likely to join us and bestow his wisdom upon us. So I am up against some pretty fierce competition too. Yeah, this is a pretty great basement. I love it. This is actually the poker area back here. Poker table goes here. And there's like a whole bar and a kitchenette right there. I mean, for us from the sticks, it's pretty rich digs around here. I am up against stiff competition. The debate, the GOP debate is happening right now. I invited Jeffrey Tucker to join us, but he is live tweeting the debate, and there's not even Rand Paul. But from what I understand, Rand Paul is making the rounds. He's getting a lot of media. He is not hurting. Like, this is going to be a net positive for him because he really was unfairly kicked out of the debate. I think by most accounts. I wish Fox News would just be honest and say, we don't like you. We don't like you. I wish they would just say that. That seems like that would be a lot more honest than coming up with criteria. And then as soon as he doesn't make the cutoff, close the nominations, you're cut off. The decision has been made as soon as a poll comes out that Ron Paul gets just below the line, and they're like, okay. Because I think how many polls did they have to go through until they found one where Kasich really did better than Rand Paul. So my guest is here. My guest is here, Eric and Val. We
Hello.
don't hear you. Say something.
Hello.
Hi, and now we might have to deal with echo issues. So if anyone hears echo, please let me know in the chat. I've got headphones. They've got headphones. Right. Charles Kennedy says, without Rand in the debate, I couldn't care less. I know, Charles. I feel so sorry for Jeffrey Tucker live tweeting this monstrosity of a debate without even the sanity that Rand Paul brings to it. I don't know how he's going to get through this. I told him to drink heavily. That was my advice. Okay. So, let's see. Say something, Eric.
Well, first of all, I am so sorry we're late. I
that's
guess
no problem.
just decided around 9:17. Hey, I have updates. So it was on a one-way track after that. So sorry about that.
Hi, Val.
Hi.
So usually I start off the show with "What are you drinking?" A nice little game of "What are you drinking?" But Val is gestating. That's so exciting.
I'm drinking water.
Yeah, she's drinking water as well. She should, and probably milk or something. I don't know, but maybe club soda or ginger ale or something. But you are towards the end of your gestation, which is so exciting.
Yes.
It's a magical time. Is it your first?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. Due on Super Bowl Sunday. So.
Yeah.
That's when we conceived. That's TMI. Okay. So, Eric, what are you drinking?
I have some leftover Mountain Dew from dinner, so.
That's not exciting. Are you're non-alcoholic in solidarity? I'll accept it.
Yeah, just for now.
Okay. Okay. Oh, is it a boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
Oh, I hate you. I'm so jealous. I have two boys, and Mike says we can't try for a third because he's right. It will also be a boy, and it very well might be twins. So I can't deal with that. So I'm so happy for you. That's so awesome. Let's see. I am drinking box wine. Yummy Card Bordeaux, Pinot Grigio, out of my Best Mom Ever glass because I am Best Mom Ever.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, so you guys, you are not familiar with my show, so let me make sure that you have access to the chat room because it's always fun to follow chat. I'm sending you in our window, we have our own personal chat room, and I'm going to send you a link. If you can see that.
Okay.
Can you see that?
We got it.
Okay. That is where people at Liberty.me are watching us. So if you pull that up, you can interact with our viewers. And right now we have 8.
Wow. Okay.
Believe it or not, for a live show, 8 is pretty good. I did not expect to get much viewership tonight with all of the the other stuff going on. Derek Dahlman is drinking Guinness. That is awesome. That's honestly one of my favorite beers. When I drink beer, I usually drink Guinness. Okay. Yeah, and I will tell you what, oatmeal and Guinness, good for breast milk.
Okay, good to know.
This is true. This is true, especially the oatmeal. If you ever have a problem with breast milk production, oatmeal. And it's,
Good. Guinness too.
It works. It works. Yay. I'm just a fountain of TMI tonight. So, let's see. What are your thoughts on the whole Rand thing? Getting booted from the main table and then ditching the kids' table. What do you think? Was that the right decision?
Well, I think, yeah, a great way to get some publicity. I guess what I am thinking, what we were actually talking about earlier is, are we really missing something in all these polls? Because Rand seems to think he has a good following among millennials, among younger people, and how are they going to be represented in all of these polls that are coming out? I just told Val just this afternoon, hey, we probably got called 3 or 4 times this week asking us to participate in a survey. It was obviously a political one. My first question is, how long is it going to take? And they say, oh, about 15, 20 minutes. And I say, yeah, sorry, no time for that. Sorry. So we move on. So I really do think that the demographic that's getting polled is probably starting to skew away from the demographic that's going to be voting.
Right. Yeah, and the millennials thing, that kind of concerns me because it's like saying I lead among non-voters.
Yeah.
That group statistically, historically, does not vote.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they can vote. They're fully able to vote. They can register and they can, you know, but they just historically don't. So it will be interesting to see if Rand can draw them out of their non-votership and get them actually to the polls and to the caucuses and actually to participate. But you know what? I have not given you a full and complete introduction. My viewers need to know, who the heck is this person that we are talking to? This is Eric Edgar. He is the editor. Would you call yourself editor of Freedom Forge? You go ahead. You do it. You introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm the founder of Freedom Forge Press. Yeah, I guess by default I'm kind of the editor, but you know, the real brains behind the editing operation is Val here, Val Muller Egger. She's my wife. So she is my partner in crime. And so what we have done is created Freedom Forge Press. And the whole mission behind that is to come up with a forum for promoting freedom, for promoting liberty, and trying to do it in a way that really captures pop culture, stories, things of that nature, to try to promote the value of freedom. So we like stories, we like publishing books, stories about freedom. And so that's what we've been doing since about 2012 now.
That's tremendous. That's so fun. If you could point people towards one thing that you're promoting right now, or one thing that's hot, or one thing in the past that's been a big success, what could you point us to, or give us a link to, or promote something?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Happy to do that. So freedomforgepress.com/store. We'll have a collection of all of our books that we've published. So we have 3 anthologies there that are a collection of short stories, one of which is sci-fi focused, and then 2 are more general fiction, collection of short stories. And then we also have 2 novels on there. And of course, you can get those through us. You can pick them up through Amazon. And I don't believe they're readily available in stores, but stores can order them.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, so awesome. And you actually also, we should disclose this, you wanted to interview me for that site.
Yes.
Because we've known each other a long time. You saw one of my very early videos, very old school. You mentioned Rachel learns to budget from Congress. I was watching that again today for the first time in a long time, and I had forgotten how bad my camera work really was back then. But I had a lot of fun putting that together. Anyway, so you're going to have a few questions for me, and this is going to be like a cross-platform kind of thing. It's going to be on Liberty.me, and then it's going to be over at Freedom Forge, and so that's going to be good. Multiple birds, one stone.
Absolutely.
So let's see. So back to Rand. I don't know if you follow it too terribly closely, but I mean, where do you think the campaign is headed from here? Do you think he's going to bounce back from this, or is this the beginning of the end?
You know, I'm really kind of worried about where it does go from here, because we're not far off from actual votes coming in. There's not a lot of time to do any kind of breakaway at this point. You see momentum starting to matter an awful lot. So, you know, you have the first 5 or so that are in the polls kind of sucking all the oxygen out of the room, taking up all of the air. It's in the conversation. And then that really starts to make it difficult to get another voice at the table. And I think that's really bad for a candidate like Rand, because not just bad for a candidate like Rand, but for all of us, because he really was bringing, I think, a unique brand to the discussion and a unique point of view to the campaign, with his style of Republican, libertarian, conservatarianism, if you will, that he was promoting. So I am a bit worried for him. I did kind of think maybe it was not the right time, kind of being a one-term senator. I mean, that kind of fits the mold of someone else we may know and not approve of so much.
Yeah, it worked okay for Barack Obama, so you can't use that excuse. But I mean, at the same time, it really is only his second campaign, his first being his run for Senate, but then again, he was very involved in all of his dad's campaigns. So
yeah, right.
I don't know, maybe this is just a learning process and he'll come back in 2020 with
that's my hope.
hindsight.
Yeah, that's my hope. Is he takes this, he learns from it, and I think some of the criticisms we've seen, and I've seen myself, is I think he needs to work on that media presence. Every time I see him doing an interview, he kind of seems a little grouchy. He's never really smiling for the camera. I'd just like to see him work on that a little bit, because he needs to be a good messenger for the ideas. The ideas are what's important, and I really do see him as one of the great champions for small government, libertarian values, and trying to inject that into the Republican Party where it's very sorely needed.
Do you think he can ever be as great as his father? Or maybe you think he's already greater than his father. Some people might.
Well, what's that saying, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I certainly think he's got the potential. I think he's got a lot more time on his side now than Ron does. So I'm hopeful, absolutely hopeful, and optimistic for the future for him. I think he can take this and learn from it.
Troy is asking, is that Braveheart's sword behind you?
Oh, that is a Roman spatha. So yes, that's the elongated sword that a cavalry officer would have.
Well, let's see that a little closer. Can you take it down? Is it like? Can you show it to us?
Absolutely. I think I just lost the ear thing here, but
disentangle yourself and let us see that.
All right. So here we go.
Weaponry. Oh, it's shiny. Shing.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's very pointy.
Sharp, pointy objects.
Yes, there we go. Pointy objects on Politics After Dark.
Yeah. Now if you just run with it, run with a pointy object, then we could be in trouble.
Run through the house and let mayhem ensue.
Well, cool. Where'd you get that?
I just lost my earring.
Online somewhere. Funny story, I got a phone call from the credit card company one time, and they're like, so we have I think it's a fraudulent charge on your credit card. Someone bought like a $200-something Roman, like full suit of Roman armor. Was that you? I'm like, no, hold on a second. Eric, did you buy a full suit of Roman armor? He's like, whoops, I forgot to tell you. My Halloween costume. So we've got that. We've got, how many swords do you have?
Oh, we probably have like 6 or 7 swords around here somewhere.
That's tremendous.
Yeah. So, if you have us back sometime around Halloween, maybe we can, we'll do the show in Roman armor or something.
Sometimes I think it's not fair that Halloween only comes once a year. I got like 3 costumes, at least 3 costumes this year, and I only had 2 occasions. So I had a peacock costume that I never got to wear anywhere. So, yeah, there should be a dress-up thing, like in the summer or something, or in the spring.
Oh, the question there, wearing a kilt. No, not wearing a kilt. It was Politics After Dark, so I was thinking, could I wear a bathrobe or PJs? So
absolutely.
Val convinced me, all right, no bathrobe, but I do have the PJ bottoms on, so we're trying to stay true to the format here.
Yeah, and lately the conversation in Liberty Land has been about women using their boobs to sell liberty, so I thought I would take a very strong stance against it. while wearing lingerie. And then I didn't. But that would be ironic. I love irony. So let's see. Do you want to start with a question for me?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
We thought this was pretty cool because, it's almost like if someone goes on the Tonight Show, then they start asking all the questions. So very grateful to you for turning the mic over for a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, the first one we have for you, Rachel, is let's say that you found a political genie who could grant you 3 policy wishes. So besides asking for more wishes, what changes would you make to the legal and policy landscape?
3 policy wishes. I would I loved your questions. I have seen these questions in advance, so I have had a chance to think about them. I would remove asset forfeiture entirely.
Like that one?
And unless there's like a conviction. No asset forfeiture without a conviction. That's one thing. So that's a drug war thing, really. Of course, I would legalize all drugs. There's that. Okay, I think that's 2. And like a third one. Income tax, go away.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 for 3 in our book. That's great.
Okay.
Well, so one of our goals is to elevate freedom, and we call it the spirit of the individual in popular culture. So can you tell us one of your favorite freedom themes, struggles, or stories from a book or movie that you recently watched or read?
Recently, well, I read The Fountainhead twice. I have not read Atlas Shrugged. Atlas Shrugged seems to be the really popular one, but I read The Fountainhead and devoured it and loved it. But that wasn't recent, actually. Oh, Charles Kennedy is yelling at me about ending the wars. Yes, I was only given 3. I thought Charles Kennedy. Here's what I'm thinking. If we end the income tax, we would maybe have to be more wise about how we spend the money, and then maybe we wouldn't be able to fund the wars. So. I see ending the income tax as solving a lot of problems if you just starve the beast. How about that? Maybe that would end the wars too. Okay, back to the question at hand. Fountainhead. Lately, it's not been very freedom oriented really with me. I've been reading a lot about English nobility. It's a Downton Abbey thing, but I've gotten into like wealthy families and how they pass their wealth on from generation to generation, and how it'll be like one patriarch will have a strong head for business and make all this wealth, and then further generations slowly squander it. But that's not very liberty theme. But I mean, I don't know. In a way, it's living life separate from government and creating wealth separate from government, and the way that they either use government to crush competitors or avoid government like onerous taxes. I don't know. I've been thinking about a lot of these things, like property rights. Property rights is a really big deal to me. I learned early on. From my time as a missionary kid in the third world, I looked around me and I was like, why are these people so poor and people in the United States are so rich? And I worked it out that it really comes down to property rights. If you can't confidently invest in what you have, like your land, your home, your business, if you can't invest there and build something without the confidence that it's not going to be taken away, then you get poverty. And that's what I saw in Haiti growing up. But I'm not really answering your question very well.
Well, I like that you mentioned the Fountainhead. I'm an English teacher. One of my lives is teaching English.
Yeah.
And some years I teach the Fountainhead, but it's so long that when students see a book, that thick, they're like, I'm not going to read that. So that's
they don't read it. They read the Cliff Notes.
They do. And you can't really get, the gist of it from that.
Yeah.
But we love Freedom Forge Press. We're looking for, like, can someone do a condensed version that the general population could pick up on that has all the awesomeness of, like, Atlas Shrugged, Fountainhead, but kind of for the general population?
Yeah. Cool. Well, Godspeed in that search.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's tricky because, you know, we find people who have awesome stories to tell, they don't always write so well. And then the ones who write so well, sometimes they don't necessarily have the stories we're looking for.
Right.
So it's just finding the right mix of a good story and the good writing, putting them both together that has been our challenge. And you know, of course, being a small press, nobody knows that who are these people? I don't know. That makes it difficult too.
So how do you actually print the books?
So we do print on demand. We tried a couple of different methods, I guess, since 2012. So we tried doing like an actual print run where we just get economies of scale. So the nice thing there is your per unit cost is nice and low, but then you have boxes and boxes of books to deal with and find people to buy them and still have a few boxes sitting around.
Yeah.
The other model, of course, that's really come up the last 10 years or so, print on demand. So you can go through that model, and you know it's a much higher per unit cost, but you don't have the inventory to deal with. So you kind of have to pick your risk there, and I think that's the model we've moved toward, at least for now. And of course, there's always reasonable. And of course, that's for print. So then, of course, there's always Kindle and the digital editions as well, which are very popular as well.
Yeah. Do you think print is actually going the way of the dinosaur?
You know, you hear that a lot, and it's definitely worth thinking about. I think for mass distribution, electronic is probably here to stay. It's going to grow. People are going to be getting and consuming their media digitally. That said, I do kind of feel like there's always going to be a place for something tangible. People hold it, see it in their hands, and you know, the book they take to the pool or the beach is just not going to be something they give away so easily. So I think that'll be around for a little while.
Well, you know what I've gotten into lately is Audible. I get all my books on Audible now, and I listen to them in the car. I never sit down. I don't have time to just sit down and devote to, you know, this. Like I listen to an Audible while I'm cooking, while I'm driving, while I'm sleeping. So and I love it when the authors read their own stuff. So.
Well, I don't have a particularly interesting reading voice. I don't know. Maybe we could get you to read one of the books or something. I don't know.
I'd love to. That'd be fun. I wish I had 1,000,000 hours in a day. I'd write a book for you.
Yeah. There you go.
I have an idea, and I started writing it over at Liberty.me, like episodically, like in blog format. I think I got to four posts, and then like life caught up with me. But you know that happens.
You know, you can always work on those and then see us sometime offline, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the way to do it. Is you just got to write a little bit at a time until it's done, and then I think I had a pretty good story arc going. I think so. But anyway, yeah, I should put another installment out there. It would be fun. But I have 1,000,000 things going on right now. I have New Year's resolutions that I have to get working on before I lose steam and all of that. So what else you got for me?
So another question we had, so I think a frequent refrain to the big and small L libertarians is, hey, without government, who would build those roads?
Oh, God. No! Not that one.
You know, at Freedom Forge Press, we think that kind of response is just unimaginative and boring because it just fails to envision a world where something else would happen without that Leviathan known as government. But how would you answer that? How would you answer that charge?
Right. Well, I think the best answer I've heard to that is, was it from Hoppe? I think it's a Hoppe answer based on that. There is the seen and the unseen. And just because you haven't seen someone else build roads doesn't mean that without government it wouldn't happen.
Exactly.
You don't have to know exactly how the free market would handle it to understand that the benefit derived from roads is there. You have to understand the motivation and the good that comes from it, and just understand that the free market would find a way. I think probably we would see a lot more toll roads. And I know toll roads piss people off. I know they do, but I think the free market has made it really easy to deal with toll roads with those little things on your car that you don't even have to stop.
Yeah.
The easy pass things. I think that would probably happen. I think probably interested parties like businesses would fund a bunch of roads just to make sure that there was ingress and egress to their place of business.
Yep.
They would definitely see a benefit. I think there would be all different ways of forming a network of roads and maintaining them better without government interference. And if you look around you at all the construction zones that seem to last forever and ever and ever, and they never seem to go away, you can see that the government solution is, it leaves a bunch to be desired. And it should be noted that those construction zones carry heavy fines if you speed through them, and frequently there's no one there, but still there's a fine. So you got to wonder if there's a conflict of interest there about, dragging out construction as long as possible. There's an incentive both for the government, and there's an incentive for the contractor, the construction company, because a lot of times they get paid by the length of the project. So, I mean, government's not exactly doing a bang-up job, It's easy to imagine that all this stuff could be done easier. And there have been stories about, smaller locales. I think there was one story in Alaska where the road got washed out or something happened and they needed it repaired, and there was businesses on the other side, and they pled their case with the government, and they saw how that process was going to go, and they weren't patient enough to wait, so they just pulled their money and they did it themselves for, I mean, just a small fraction of what it was going to cost the government to go through their process. And I mean, they got it done almost immediately rather than waiting 2 to 5 years or whatever. So the free market finds a way, even for like really big important stuff.
There's a great meme out there, and I don't know, maybe someone in the chat room knows where it is and would post it, but on one side they're like, oh yeah, the private market came up with this great device. It fits in your garage. It's made out of thousands and thousands of parts, and it does everything what consumers want it to do. It's called a car.
Yeah.
And yet for some reason, government thinks it's the only body that's capable of slapping down some concrete for the car to drive on.
Right.
And, the car is infinitely more complex than a road is, and yet we have plenty of car companies out there that are tailored to consumer demands. Meanwhile, the government says, yeah, we're the only ones who know how to build roads.
Yeah, a traffic jam is what happens when the government is in charge of the roads.
Exactly.
And the free market is in charge of the cars.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
And the other point you made about those construction zones and fines, interesting. I'm going to get the stats wrong, so I'm not going to throw it out, but we live in Virginia, so neighboring Maryland just went through this where they had these hated speed zones. In their work zones, they had cameras and speed restrictions, and so they were just doling out the speeding fines left and right with these cameras, to the tune of millions of dollars being collected, that Maryland was boasting about funding the construction projects with all of the fines that they were collecting. And the people of Maryland loved it so much that, deep blue Maryland elected Larry Hogan, a Republican, to follow the likes of Martin O'Malley, who thought he did such a great job, he's now going to run for president.
Wait, were you? Yeah. Yeah, Maryland. Oh my gosh. Don't get me
Yeah.
started on Maryland.
Yes.
But see, I think actually people don't mind usage fees. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think people, when you get right down to it, would you rather cameras and cops and things like that to slap you with a hefty fine? Would you rather that way of funding, or just a small usage fee of like $1 or $2? You know, I think most people would prefer, you know, a usage fee rather than, you know, the paranoia and the heart palpitations, and you know, and I'm sure some people were issued tickets falsely that they didn't deserve, you know, and then you got to fight that when you didn't do anything wrong.
Absolutely.
Well, and especially if taxes come down, people don't realize usage fees would kind of replace some of the taxes that we're paying.
Right.
I would gladly pay for what I use rather than what everyone else uses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the founding fathers thought that usage fees were much more fair than just across the board taxes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Maryland is horrible. Where
We
do you
got you
live in
thinking about
Virginia?
Maryland.
What?
We got you thinking about Maryland now. Uh-oh.
Oh, we hated it. We were there for 8 months and we like fled. Like, we literally fled.
That
Like,
was all you needed.
oh God. We've never been vandalized or robbed or broken into or anything. We were there for 8 months and both of our cars were broken into in 8 months.
Wow.
I mean, ugh. Ugh. Okay. Where in Virginia are you? Are you Northern Virginia?
Yep, Northern Virginia. We're in Loudoun County.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Western Loudoun, I should say. We're not in Eastern Loudoun with the, you know, all the townhomes and the shopping centers on top of each other. So we at least get a nice view of the hills out there.
Yeah, you're far enough away from the belly of the beast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, little distance.
Close enough to have to go into Maryland sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On occasion.
What you gonna do?
I mean, there's some good people there. Liz Reitzig is in Maryland, so it's not all bad if it has Liz.
When we're in the car, I usually put the windows down as soon as we exit Maryland and say, breathe the free air once again.
Yeah, seriously. Oh.
After we leave.
It's a horrible place. Don't ever go there. Charles Kennedy says Jeffrey Tucker wrote a very good piece about safe driving and related matters, challenging the notion that all those highway cops keep us safe or have any interest in keeping us safe. Yeah, I know the piece you're referring to. I believe it was the Uber piece where he was making, well, maybe that was a side point, where he made the point that Uber carting around drunk drivers actually made us safer. You know, having more options, you know, to avoid drunk drivers. And then in some localities, you know, people are upset that they don't have the revenue from the drunk driving from the TWIs anymore. It's like, really? What are we really getting at then? You know, highway robbery, that is what that is, really.
You know, if you want to look at just the machine that the government has made out of these fines, you know, you can also look at Washington, D.C. as a great example. You know, between the cameras there, the speeding cameras, and then all of the various parking fees that you can get, fines that you can get there. There are literally people who are just now refusing to go into the district, and I'm glad I'm not a business owner there who has a restaurant or a business that needs public to come support me. Because of all the fines that go on there. And then you have council members, the mayor saying, well, solution isn't more parking, it isn't things like that to make the town more car friendly. You know, we want to have metro stops, and we want to subsidize things like light rail and trolleys that have been utter failures and utter disasters, but we're not going to do anything about the parking situation.
Yeah.
Makes too much money.
Yeah, yuck. Okay, last question. We're coming up on 45 minutes, which is where I like to stop the show. So, one more question. What you got?
One more question. What do you think?
That one.
Okay, so
Uh-oh.
yeah,
Well, I think it's a helpful one for
Yeah, this is a good one. So, what do you think the average person can do to fight back against the loss of their individual freedoms? And just as a quick lead up to it, we went to a meeting this evening at our local county government, and they're proposing a bunch of new regulations for
God
on-site
bless you. God bless
septic.
you.
Yeah. So what they're doing is they want brand new ordinances, rewrites of ordinances affecting septic systems in homeowners' yards. And it's a complete rewrite of the ordinance. And would you believe that the homeowner stakeholders group, we were the only ones who showed up. So I certainly did my part to give the government officials kind of an earful of what I thought of their proposal. But then again, out of 2,000 or so homeowners in the county who have that type of septic system, we were literally the only ones who showed up. So all that to say, what can the average person do to fight back against the loss of individual freedom? Because it feels like I lost my speaker again.
It happens.
I
think you just answered your own question. I mean, yeah, it's hard to sit through meetings like that. I have a friend, a very good friend here, Amy, who goes to meetings like that, city council meetings and things like that, and reports on it. That's so important. I will admit I haven't sat through one of those meetings yet, but I feel like I should and I need to, just to be aware of local government and what's happening in my own backyard, because I'll tell you, the people that are working against liberty, like various, business interests and government revenue regulator type interests, they're very involved in that process, and they're working against me. And like you said, the people are not very well represented, and that's our fault. We need to be a little more vigilant about going to stuff like that, about paying attention, about just figuring out what's going on, about looking up in the Board of Elections who represents you, what districts am I in, who's in a position to make policies that affect me, and what are they doing, and what meetings can I go to, what town halls, what are their voting records. That's a lot of work, though. I mean, that is a lot of work. And so it's understandable that busy people who are just trying to stay above their taxes, they don't have time for this. And the cynical Rachel has often thought, there's maybe a method to that madness about keeping everyone so busy to pay taxes that they can't pay attention to government. They don't have time, right? So
Absolutely.
it's just a constant battle. There is a constant battle, and I think the biggest thing is just to understand that it is a constant battle. And if a very smart man named Sean Haw told me once, politics belongs to those who show up. He told me that 2 decades ago, I think, and I have found that to be the truth. If you just show up, that's half the battle. So God bless you for going to a meeting like that. Oh my gosh.
And someone in the chat said you took your sword to the meeting. Maybe next time you take your sword to the meeting.
Take the sword to the meeting, yeah.
No guns allowed. Oh yeah? How about this? This allowed?
Yeah. All right. Didn't say anything about swords, did you?
We have a septic tank too. I don't know what they're trying to do to mess with your septic tank, but that sounds like that could get expensive. Oh gosh.
It was about 26 pages worth of technical stuff.
Like finable offenses and blah blah blah.
Creating all kinds of new offenses, and but so the staff was particularly excited and trying to sell this as a selling point that, oh well, we're not going to make it a criminal offense for some of these things. We're going to make them civil penalties. And so you ask, well, what's the difference?
The money. You just want the money.
Yeah.
Government says you did something wrong. Here's your fine. Pay the money. What's the difference? At least if it's a criminal thing, I get my day in court, right? And so after I pointed that out, you know, maybe there's a reason things should be at a criminal level where the government has a burden of proof to prove that you did something rather than just issuing
Exactly.
tickets.
Yeah, there's a stronger burden of proof in your benefit in the criminal courts than in civil.
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh, and I will say this. I will say this from my perspective on Capitol Hill for 5 years, working for a congressman. A lot of those congressmen, you would be surprised at how little they actually know about the issues they are voting on. So if there is an issue that you are an expert on, like your field of employment, and there's something that comes up that affects you, like you would be surprised how much it really matters and affects them when you show up and share your knowledge with your congressman. And I mean, that's maybe unrealistic, but maybe writing an email, you know, sending an email, making a phone call. If you've got a field of interest that you're, you know, knowledgeable about, educate your congressman. You would be surprised how valuable that can be and how ignorant they really are. And a lot of them know that they're ignorant. I mean, they can't know everything about everything, but yet they're expected to make decisions about legislation on everything about everything. So it can actually be very much appreciated to have the voice of the people, because all they've got really up there are the voices of lobbyists, you know. So you know, they do want to hear from their constituents. I do firmly believe that they're not all like evil and out to get you. It's just a matter of who has their ear.
Yeah.
You know, and as a constituent, you have the opportunity to get their ear. And generally, they are interested in hearing from constituents. And, you know, even if that's a pre-filled letter that you sign your name to and hit send, you know, that's better than nothing. But, you know, if there's something that comes up that you have, you know, real passion about, you know, write or call your congressmen, your senators. It can matter. It can matter just a little bit. It can certainly matter more than voting. I think we all know how futile voting is. We're all going to do it anyway. But actually learning about legislation, staying on top of it, and educating your congressmen and senators, you have to think about it that way. And of course, do it in a polite way. But there you go. That's my answer.
All right, we'll take it.
Okay. We are over time. That's okay. But I think we're going to leave it there. This was a wonderful Politics After Dark. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much for joining me, Eric and Val.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us. You know, it was an honor to get to have some interaction with you, following up from the Rachel Learns budgeting video from way back in the day. So thank you for having us.
And happy gestating. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I hope everything goes well. It usually
Thanks.
does.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Don't be nervous. It's gonna be it's gonna be okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, viewers. And this is going to be on archives very shortly. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.